last year, we booked over 700 sales calls for coaches. And as a result, we helped your clients generate hundreds of thousands in cash collected. And in this video today, I wanted to go over the main things that we saw from last year that basically drove the majority of our results. So looking back on 2025, what was it that really made the biggest difference for us? And what should we be doubling down on in 2026 to make sure that we can get even better results? So essentially, if you are selling some sort of coaching, if you are booking sales calls, and if you want to get some insight from the stuff that we did so you can, implement these things yourself and make sure that you can actually have a more productive, year in 2026 and not do a lot of the mistakes that we did, then I think you're going to get some insight from this video. So let's get into it. And as you can see over here, this is one of our clients. So from January till October, we booked around 300 something calls. Some of these are reschedules and whatever. So let's say around 300. And I don't have all of them in here, but when we add on the other clients we worked with as well, it comes out to over 700 sales calls that we booked last year. And also just a few of the results that we have from clients. I just wanted to add at least something in here to show you guys, some proof going into this video. But with that being said, let's get into the first thing. And that is going to be personal branding and how important it is. And not just personal branding, but the way that it's done. So to give you an example, we have worked with clients that have hundreds of thousands of followers on IG, hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube. But when it comes down to actually monetizing their audience, it's very difficult. There's a lot of resistance, especially if it's high ticket, because the way that the audience has been built has kind of been focused on the wrong things, I guess. So focusing very heavily on getting as many views as possible, getting as many followers as possible, and not really being focused on who are we actually attracting. And it's just kind of becoming a mismatch between the audience and what you're selling. So when it comes down to selling something, it's very, very difficult and they can barely make any money. And then on the other hand, you have people that barely have an audience. They have very few followers and they are making a shit ton of money with the few people that they have in their audience because it's done in the right way. Even my YouTube channel is an example. I have like 90 subscribers, I think, and I've had multiple clients come through my channel. And my point here is something that we saw with our clients is a big shift that we did basically in 2025 is instead of only making the kind of like valuable content for your ICP, we essentially expanded the personal brand, especially for our clients, to include more personal stuff. Essentially doubling down on the only thing that really made us unique, which is going to be the personality and the stuff that is not like business or offer related, but the other stuff, right? Like kind of the deeper stuff essentially. So as you can see on this graph here, previously we would be heavily focused on only the ICP, right? So we would only kind of box ourselves in to only speak to these people. And that would really be the only type of content we would make, which would be, the content would be very scripted often. It would be very intentional. It would be just, we would box ourselves in, and it kind of comes across in the content that it's kind of like a salesy vibe. You don't really have any personality in it. It's very like, you get the point, right? Whereas now we would kind of open this up and allow for more creativity in the brand. So what I'm saying is like introducing more of the authentic side of the actual personality, more behind the scenes, more insights. Essentially what makes us unique as a brand is going to be the actual personality behind it, not just the value. The value is obviously important. You need to show people that you know what you're talking about, you can get them results, you can share clients and everything and value as well, but you need to also include the personality because ultimately people want to work with people that they resonate with. And we saw this massively in just the results in the entire funnel, right? Everything from the amount of growth that we had on the accounts, the amount of new people that we were attracting, the quality of those people would be better. The, comments on our content, the conversations we had with people in the DMs, the way that the sales calls would go, everything would just be way easier. It would be way more, flow, and people would actually resonate with the message compared to just being interested because of the value. So we would basically introduce more of the you in the brand essentially. And previously, people would only really follow us for value. Like I said, it would be kind of a salesy vibe in the content. It comes across if it's scripted and very intentional. And basically, the only reason you're making content is not really because you like it at this point. You're making content to make money and it comes across, right? And also, like I said, we had more growth when we switched over because the addressable market becomes bigger when you are basically expanding your bubble a bit and you're not only being solely focused on one very specific avatar. And then we were also saturated before because everybody is basically doing the same thing, right? So you're not really having anything unique but with your brand. Whereas now when we kind of made the brand a little bit bigger and kind of introduced the personality in it, people would actually follow us because of who we are, right? They would resonate with the message genuinely on a deeper level than just the value. They would like us, you know? And like I said, we had more growth, we had better quality growth, we had higher authority, we had a better connection with the audience. So people would actually be, like I said, resonating with the message, not just because of the value, but also because of the actual personality behind it, and just the stuff that we would speak about would genuinely resonate with them. For an example would be, one of our clients recently became a father last year, and he would speak about this in the content, and a lot of the people that would be attracted would be dads as well, right? And that would be perfect for the kind of offer that he was running. So he would made way more money. People would actually genuinely fuck with him because of the fact that he was a father, not just because of the value that he was giving. And it just became a big, I guess, thing with the entire brand. And that's just an example. We would also obviously have a higher addressable market. Like I said, we would have more growth, reach more new people that we haven't reached before because of this. And we would essentially just tap into the only thing that would make us unique, which is going to be our personality. I guess this can be everything. This can be like the hobbies you have, the humor that you have, the insights you have, the stories you have, the experience you have, everything, right? It can be literally anything, but essentially introducing more of your personality into your brand. That is going to be the biggest thing. So that is one of the biggest things that we saw last year that we implemented with clients. Number 2 is going to be keeping the business clean and investing in clean systems. This is a big one for me. I'm kind of a freak in terms of having things clean. My brother says I have OCD. I'm not sure, but at least I like to keep things clean. And we saw also last year, especially when we started to like clean everything up, is the more we would have things clean, the more we would actually use them, especially when it comes to like tracking numbers and stuff. If we had just messy systems, even like we didn't have messy systems before, but they would be less optimized. And the more we optimized them, the more clean we made everything, the less energy it would take us to actually do things, and we would actually use the systems more. So an example would be like the tracking system that we essentially implemented like a few months ago, right? So now we can track everything super cleanly. Everything is automated, comes back into our CRM automatically, or like the tracking dashboard. And we don't need to like it's just easy to check it out. It's clean, it's nice to use, and even people on the team is using it more, like clients and the setters and stuff like that. So we can actually use this, right? So we can filter by UTM source. Where did we actually book the calls from? We can see the close rate and all the different stats for each individual person on the sales team. We can see everything for the DM setting. We can see everything with the VSL, everything with the ads, and we can filter by any conditions that we have. So as you can see here, we can filter by the setter, by the source. So where did the actual setting occur? Was it on Instagram, X, whatever? So my point is like just cleaning everything up. Same with the content. So having a clean system where we would basically get the content ideas into, we would have like kind of the stage in the cycle that the content was in. And after we posted the content, the way that we tracked the performance and everything. So my point is keeping things clean. So also with the systems that we have on Discord with automations and the team and everything, again, cleaning it up, and also with like general SOPs. Instead of having 1,000 different documents with 1,000 different things, just cleaning things up and kind of streamlining everything made a huge difference for us. So that is going to be, I guess, number 2. Next thing is going to be imperfect action and speed. And this is kind of, saturated. Everybody speaks about this, but it is genuinely very, very true. And we saw this especially when it comes to clients, because the clients that we always have that gets the best results are the ones that aren't too focused on having everything perfect, but they're focused on getting shit done quickly, right? So this can come down to the content. It can come down to hiring and firing, just decisions in general, everything, right? If we are focused too much on getting things perfect, generally it doesn't really get done. A very clear-cut example of this is going to be coming down to the content, right? So if we have a system for the content, are we able to actually consistently execute and get the content out, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not, oh my God, this is going to be the best one ever. But the point is to getting shit done, quickly with recording, it can be literally everything. But it is very, very true that the quicker you can get things done, you are going to get better results every single time. So that's a big one. Next thing is going to be, for us, investing in the DM setting process. That's something that we did at the ending of last year that had a huge impact on results. And a big reason for this is because a lot of the clients that we work with, they have most of the traffic coming from like Instagram or socials in general. And obviously the way that this is converted to calls is usually through the DMs, right, with the setter. So we obviously previously still had good systems for this, but we invested in somebody that did this at a very higher level than us. And just the systems that we were able to like get from them would massively make a difference in terms of like the results that we were getting. And I also wanted to include this because I see this a lot of the times with the clients that we work with is they might have a setter, but they're barely doing anything to make sure that he's performing and everything, right? So by that I mean like where they find the setters, how they onboard them, set expectations, the way they train them, the way they manage them day to day, the way they like map out their daily workflows and everything. Like none of this is usually getting done, right? However, they're getting a setter on and then expecting him to kind of just perform, and they don't really have good communication. They don't really have any systems. They're not really tracking his progress. They're not giving training. They're not managing him. They're not really checking in day to day. And, you know, it doesn't really work like that. So something we've done is just investing a lot into the setting and like cleaning up the way that we are finding setters, onboarding setters, setting expectations, the setter training that we give them, again, where we hire from, and like mapping out their daily workflows, the way we manage them. So jumping on multiple calls with them every single week and just checking in day to day, and also like the culture within the business, which is actually a point that I'm going to get to later in the video. But the point of this one is just invest into the DM setting process. If you have a setter, if you have traffic on Instagram, is the biggest leverage you can have is focusing on conversations over conversions, right? So especially if you have less traffic, if you can focus on maximizing the amount of conversations you have with your audience versus building like a funnel, for example, where you're focusing on getting people to book in a call themselves, you are going to book more calls with a setter that reaches out to people, has a genuine conversation, delivers value, gets them engaged, and boom, 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 and then books them in for a call, versus if you ask people to book in a call by themselves. Obviously, if you have a lot of traffic, you kind of have the luxury to do this as well, but I would say do both. But my point is like invest into this because it's going to make a huge impact in your business if you have average systems around setting and sales and stuff like that versus if you actually spend time and invest into them and get them really, really dialed. It's going to be a massive, massive difference. At least that was the case for us. Next thing is going to be not neglecting sales because you want the marketing to sell for you. And this is something I've seen a lot of times, is especially when we work with clients, is they spend a lot of time and energy and money even on ads and content and basically getting traffic, as much traffic as possible, as many leads as possible, but they spend very little time on the sales side of things, right? Which is going to be, like I mentioned, the setting, the actual sales call, like the way that the sales call is conducted, but also the stuff that happens in between somebody books in a call and the call is basically had, right? So in between here, what happens? And a lot of the times it's barely anything, maybe a few reminders and stuff. But the point of this is like, you still want your marketing to do this as much selling as you can for you, right? So if you have the graph, the better your marketing, the more you can sell in your marketing, obviously that's going to be like the thing you want to do essentially, right? But my point is not neglecting the stuff that happens on the sales side of things. So when somebody books in a call, or like even down to the setting, like don't neglect the appointment setting stuff. Even if it's phone setting, if it's DM setting, whatever it is, even the funnel, the way that you optimize the funnel, the way that you track the numbers and everything. And also what happens after somebody books in a call. This has been massive for us. So we implemented a lot of basically just improving the pre-call flow is what I call it. So what happens after somebody books in a call? We have like a video, basically a new VSL that appears after they book in a call. So they get redirected to a new video that explains what they need to do, the actions we need them to take, how to confirm the call, all that kind of stuff. And also goes into kind of like explaining the offer, giving them education, giving them value, showing them social proof, and kind of like pre-selling them. And then after that, we go into a very heavy, email and SMS flow where we're not really doing this in a salesy way. We're more so just showcasing results, showcasing our actual story. So again, introducing the connection with leads and resonance with the brand. And like I said, results, any limiting beliefs or any perspective shifts that we want them to have, all that kind of stuff, right? So we introduced this in emails, and we're sending like 3 or 4 a day. And we've seen this has a massive implication on the way that people show up to the calls. And we've had a lot of leads just literally comment on the emails and saying like they really like the emails. They gave them a lot of perspective shifts and it was really well written and whatever. So they actually enjoy these. And like I said, it's not written in a very salesy way. It's more like, how can we get our message across, help these guys with, I guess, new perspectives to adopt, share stories and everything like that. And obviously this has a huge impact on the close rate, the show rate and everything like that. And the next thing is going to be even the stuff that we manually do with the appointment setters. So how the appointment setter reaches out to people, confirms the call, essentially keeps them engaged in the conversation, not like business related, but this can be like personal stuff, right? So asking them questions about like, for example, the job they do, like how they like it, where they're from, what they do, if they have any hobbies, like whatever, just keeping the conversation going with the leads that book in a call to basically make them feel, I guess, appreciated and kind of reducing a little bit of the sales tension. So that's been massive for us. Just in general, investing into the actual sales process. What happens in terms of the setting, in terms of the sales, in terms of after somebody books in a call, what's the experience like for the leads and everything? And then obviously also it's going to come down to sales training, reviewing the sales calls and everything like that as well. So that is a massive one. That is a massive one. And the next thing is going to be focusing on case studies and getting results. And as you can see also here, actually using them. And this might be very obvious to some of you, but I've seen this so many times where people have a shit ton of actual results, right? So they've delivered a lot of results, but they've never gotten any case studies. They've never gotten any testimonials. They've never done a client interview. They have not really ever made, like taken, I guess, record of the results that they're getting. So like that can be screenshots or anything, right? They haven't really done anything. So when it comes down to like proving the results, they barely, they can't, right? They haven't really tracked the results. And this is obviously kind of stupid because at the end of the day, people are paying you most of the time for you to give them a result. And if you don't track the results that you're getting and you can't really show this in the marketing, that is obviously going to be not as good as if you can, right? So the more social proof you have, the more client interviews, the more testimonials, the more results you can show, the more often you can show them. So as you're getting clients results, as you are, I guess, getting results yourself even, if you can market these constantly, there's going to be a lot of people that would be interested in getting similar results versus if you don't. So my point is, the reason I wanted to add this in here is start implementing systems for you to actually capture results and get case studies. So like, for example, get a system for when you are going to essentially get testimonials from people. So like what milestones do they need to hit for you to actually get a testimonial? Same with case studies, same with client interviews, same with like systems regarding actually getting feedback from your clients as they're getting results and taking screenshots, taking all of these and kind of saving them and using them in your marketing. It's going to be massive. I think literally every single client that we've worked with, they've done this to some degree where they have a very average or non-existent way to get client results. And they have a lot of results and probably really good results, but they're not ever really tracking them. They're never really using them in the marketing and they haven't really posted them, you know? So it's just stupid. I like use your results as much as you can. This is going to be one of the biggest things that you can use in your marketing to get people interested in working with you, because at the end of the day, they are paying you to get a results. Yeah, or to get a result most of the time, right? The last thing is going to be have fun, work with cool people, and build a good environment. And this is not only because it's going to be way more fun, obviously you're going to have a better time, but it's also going to make you way more money because number one, if you actually enjoy the people that you work with, if you actually enjoy to work with your appointment setter, if you actually have a good relationship with your salespeople, if you have a good relationship with your business partner, you are obviously going to be way more motivated to show up every day and put in the work. And they are also going to be way more motivated because you have a good work environment. And we've seen this a lot of times with clients we work with setters we have on. Like we try and always have a really good, I guess, environment. Not just business related, but also personal. And kind of not have the entire, I guess, environment be only focused on business and numbers and stuff like that, but actually building a connection with people, having fun, fucking around, whatever that might look like, and actually building a good, like I said, environment. You're going to have people that are going to be way more motivated to work with you. You're going to have obviously way more energy to actually work yourself. And everybody is just going to work in more of alignment instead of being kind of segmented and, this people, like this guy doesn't really speak too much and blah, blah, like it's just going to be a weird vibe. So for example, I literally do my business with my brother, and we've seen this with like, it's just way better when you have like a good connection with your audience, or sorry, with your clients, with your appointment setter, with the salespeople, even me and him, right? Like we're literally brothers working together. And it just makes a massive difference in the business. You're gonna, number one, not burn out as quickly because you literally like the stuff that you're doing. If you hate the team, if you don't like the business partner you have, if these kinds of things. So that is going to be massive for us. And a lot of the times you're going to have to like go through potentially a few people to find the right fit that is going to be, the fit that you want to work with. That can be in terms of sales, in terms of business partners, whatever. But it's worth it to get somebody that you genuinely fuck with and genuinely, you just feel that he's going to be a perfect fit for the team. So that is going to be my last point, but a massive one, probably one of the biggest ones, honestly. And like I said, we've seen this every single time when we have a team that is just like aligned and it's just a good vibe and everybody is just, I guess, working together very well. Obviously, the results are way, way better every single time. So that's going to be the last one. Hope you got at least some insights from this video. And with that being said, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. And by the way, if you have any questions or, whatever, you can reach out to me on IG. It's going to be myself. I don't have a setter, so don't worry. If you have any questions, whatever, I'll be happy to answer them for you. But with that being said, I guess that's it.